What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we dive into an Izzet Delver deck, as you see here on the screen. It is definitely an interesting deck, as I feel like it has gotten a few upgrades with the new Alchemy set that has been added to the arena thing. There are some things that kind of don't work sometimes, depending on the matchup. But overall, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to burn our opponent in the face. At the same time, hopefully flip Delver, getting them for those early points at damage, and then hopefully finishing off with some burn spells to the face. The deck is pretty decent, I would say. Sometimes there is some mana sources, just because besides the lands that we have that are just regular lands, we do also have lands that do come in the battlefield tapped, unfortunately, because they are modal lands. We do play Shadow Smashing, which is another land that can come to the battlefield tapped or untapped depending on the situation. But overall, the goal of our deck is just to hopefully hit our opponent as quick as possible, as hard as possible. I already went ahead and actually played all the games that you will be seeing here, so I'm actually recording the intro after I play the games. And I do think there's a couple games in there that when I edit this, that there will, we do win fairly quickly, and then there's some of the games we do really have to grind it out to kind of, get the win and victory. But with that being said, I mean, there's definitely a different couple areas that you can go through and kind of get an idea of how this deck ranks against other decks in that matchup. We kind of faced a bunch of different decks while we were playing through the Welcome to Alchemy event. As I didn't finish that up, and I figured it was just a good way to play the deck. I do think there may be also a deck that a game that we play in play mode, but I do think this is a pretty decent deck as long as the mana is in your favor and you pretty much draw a decent curve. I do think this deck has what it takes to possibly win some games pretty quickly. But with that being said, let's kind of dive into the deck and let's kind of talk about some of the new Alchemy cards. I do think that kind of brings a little bit extra to the deck. I do think the first one up is Toralf's Disciple. It's a 3-mana 3/3 haster. It was one of the cards that caught my eye when it was announced, as it's a 3/3 mana haster. But whenever it attacks, it actually generates, it conjures 4 cards named Lightning Bolt into our library. So it actually adds cards to our library. Lightning Bolt's a very powerful card, as you can kind of see here. It's a 1-mana instant speed spell that deals 3 damage to any target. It's like a step up from Shock. That 1 extra point of damage does matter, and that's why it's, I think, an important card for a deck like this. So that's one of the cards here, and it's every time you attack with it. So the first time it attacks, you first get the 4 points, then you get the 8 lightning bolts added to the deck, and then you have 12. And if multiples out, you're getting 8 or 12 lightning bolts added to the deck at one time. So it is definitely one of those things that fills our decks up with lightning bolts, and hopefully we can just burn our opponent out from there. The other card we have is Electrostatic Blast. This is another interesting one that I'm unsure if I really like it in the deck, just because if we're in a weird mana predicament and we end up tapping out when we cast our next instant spell after this one, it creates some weird scenarios there. But it's a good card that helps us dig a little bit deeper into our deck to hopefully find a card maybe if we need to finish off our opponent. But essentially, it's a 2-mana instant speed spell that deals 2 damage to any target. So it's a 2-mana 2 damage to anything. But then when we cast our next instant or sorcery spell, exile the top 3 cards of our library, and we can play one of those cards until end of the turn, allowing us to hopefully find one of those lightning bolts that got added to our deck to maybe finish off our opponent, or maybe a creature or another spell, or even a land, depending on what the situation is. But overall, it's a pretty decent, I think, spell for removal, for damage to the face. That kind of helps us generate a little bit more tempo, especially when our hands getting a little bit thin. So it's definitely a card that kind of helps us out there. Other than that, the deck is kind of playing a lot of cards I think you may have already seen. In the 1-mana drops, 1-mana drop area, we have Consider here as kind of like that cantrip spell that allows us to draw a card, throw something in the graveyard that we don't want to draw into, and then we draw that card at instant speed. We have Delver's Secrets, of course, because it is like an Izzet Delver deck. We want to get this out early, get it out on turn 1, hopefully flip it on turn 2, and then we're swinging in for 3 points of damage per turn unless our opponent can get some sort of way to remove it. But at the beginning of our upkeep, we look at the top card of our library, we may reveal an instant or sorcery card, reveal this way, and then we're transformed Delver's Secrets. Fate and Hope has a little bit of tempo, bounce maybe back an opponent's creature that may be standing in the way of us getting an attack in. So definitely a good card there. And if its mana value is 3 or less, we get to Scry, which definitely helps set things up for like a Delver's Secrets. Play with Fire is another great card here. If we do damage to our opponent's face, we get to Scry. But it's essentially a shock with a benefit, so that's definitely awesome. Spikefield Hazard is definitely good. There's a lot of Shambling Gas rolling around, and Spikefield Hazard kind of takes care of that. And it exiles them instead of going to the graveyard, so that's definitely a benefit there. Worst case scenario, if we do draw it early or late, we can always have it on the battlefield as a land tapped. In the 2-mana slot, we already went over Electrostatic Blast, but a great card that I think synergizes very well with what we're trying to do here. We can play this, hit our opponent in the face on our following turn when maybe we untap our mana. we can then go ahead, play maybe one of our cantrip spells, bounce maybe the creature that's in our way, get another instant or sort, get something from the top of our library that we can cast. Maybe if we don't have something to cast, if we depend on how much mana we have, so definitely good there. Because we're playing a lot of instants and sorceries, I think Channeler is definitely very good here. It's another card that kind of, you know, starts off as a 1/3 for 2 mana, which is definitely a great blocker. Definitely blocks a lot in the early game. But we can discard a card and we can exile the top 2 cards of our library by tapping it, and we can choose one of them and play that card this turn. So it's essentially another card that will allow us to kind of dig a little bit deeper into our deck, maybe get something else playable against our opponent. We can do this on our opponent's turn, as long as it doesn't have Summoning Sickness. Maybe it's still a 1/3. We can tap it, maybe get that removal spell. You know, maybe it does the 1 point of damage, but we just need another 2 points of damage to maybe finish off the creature. So definitely a good card there that allows us to maybe just dig a little bit deeper, get rid of something that maybe is pretty much useless in the matchup, or just something that we can't really cast at that time. Thermal Alchemist, because we are playing a bunch of instants and sorceries, allows us to ping our opponent 1 point of damage per turn, and then every time we cast an instant or sorcery spell, we have to untap it and ping our opponent again. You'll see in a lot of games here that this is a card that comes in pretty clutch. You know, those 1 points of damage turn over turn, and especially if we're doing it multiple times per turn, definitely stack up, and eventually our opponent's down to low life, and they can't really do anything about it. Expressive Iterations, another great card. You know, takes us a little bit deeper into our library. Look at top 3. One goes into our library, one goes into our hand, one goes into our library, and the other one goes into the exile that we can cast this turn. I do think there's a game that I'll probably have in here that, you know, I messed this up. I meant to put another color mana into my exile, but I got the order out of sync, so I put, you know, the 1 card in my hand. I thought the second card I selected was the one in the exile, and the third card was the one to go to the library. Screwed up my mana base, but I do think I pulled out the victory there. Shadow Skull Smash In. It's a you know, it's a land, as well as if we have multiple creatures that are in our way, we can always deal damage across the board. It's kind of one of those things that we don't always have a lot of mana, so we're not doing a bunch of damage, but it's definitely something that we do have in our back pocket, just in case if we need to. Best case scenario is just a mana that we do unfortunately have to pay 3 life if we really need on the battlefield untapped, or it comes in the battlefield tapped and we get red mana from it. Inspired Idea, I think, really works for this deck because it's a deck that we're going to be, you know, trying to, you know, get rid of a bunch of things in our hand immediately, and we're going to be really low-handed anyway. We're not going to have a bunch of cards in our hand. It's a 3 mana, you know, draw 3 cards, reduces our maximum hand size by 3 for the rest of the game, and I don't think that's a severe penalty for what this deck's trying to do. We're trying to cast a bunch of spells. You know, this just allows us to keep tempo, you know, maybe find that answer to maybe finish off our opponent, so definitely a great card. I don't think the penalty of reducing our hand size by 3 for the rest of the game is that detrimental. It is one of those things, if we cast a second one, we only have 2. We're not going to hopefully reduce our hand by 6 and only be able to carry 1 card in our hand, so that is definitely one of the trade-offs here, but I do think it's a great card that really works for this style of deck. And then Toralf's Disciple as our card that's going to be just adding Lightning Bolts to our hand, as long as it's every time it attacks and doesn't get killed in that process. It's definitely a great card. It definitely, you know, our opponents aren't expecting it, and then, you know, we're not going to deck ourselves because we're going to be adding 4 copies of Lightning Bolts into our library every time it attacks. So even if we draw a bunch of cards, eventually it's just going to become a lot of Lightning Bolts, and hopefully we overwhelm our opponent by that point, and they're not really high on life points as well, and then we finish them off with the Lightning Bolts. And like I said, the mana base is kind of, you know, we're on the lower side. We have 9 islands, 2 of the Den of the Bugbears, 2 mountains, and 4 of the Lava Glide Pathways. Not playing a bunch of, you know, mana here. I think that only comes out to, you know, 17 mana in the mana pool, and then we also have, you know, our 3 modal lands here, and then our 2 modal lands there, so overall like 22-ish lands. So overall it's a pretty, you know, small mana base, but most of our spells are not any greater than 3, so it's kind of one of those things that, you know, we don't really need 6, 7 mana out. You know, 3 or 4 mana is actually not too bad. It's just one of those times, it's just a balance of, are we gonna have enough red mana sources, are we gonna have enough blue mana sources? So I do think I kind of play with the numbers maybe a little bit, maybe cut an island or 2 and add a mountain or 2 kind of to see how it plays out. Other than that, it's a pretty fun deck. It's definitely, when it works, and I do, like I said, I think once your opponent kind of sees how the deck works out, it kind of catches them by surprise, and at that point, it's too late. With that being said, if you like the video, hit that like button. It definitely helps out a lot. If you're new here, want to post new videos on the channel, hit that subscribe button. It puts a plus and plus 1 counter on the channel. With that being said, just dive into games, and let's just kind of see how this deck plays out. On the play, I guess it's an okay hand. I mean, I don't have a turn 1 play, but I mean, I have a turn 2 and turn 3, and then I have a little bit of draw, so we will play our red land tapped. All right, I guess we're playing just a bunch of just a bunch of mono black, I guess, is popular. Never seen the card, I guess, so they have to read. Makes sense. As long as I can put them on their toes, I mean, I'm happy with that. Okay. Alright, so we're playing the Bloodletter deck. You can double block is probably your smart decision. Yeah, it's fine. Then you're gonna give it -1/-1, and then I stop you from ramping. Sure. Sure. Okay, so we're not playing anything? Or land? Didn't get our land drop? You have something in your hand. I'm tapped out. The only thing that's sticking on my end. Okay, so you were thinking about whether or not you wanted to play your tap land. Got it. Sure. I could have played my Shadow Skull Smash-In as like a land, but I'll play around it. Maybe we can scry into something with a Play with Fire. Keep it, because I don't think their creatures are super strong until they kind of get their like life gain thing out. Okay. Doesn't matter. I'll do 2 to the face. Sure. Put some more lightning bolts in the deck. See what happens. What card I discard at random. No. I don't know. Was that the play? I have no idea. Sure. Drain him for 1. Nice. More lightning bolts in the deck. Now I have 11 more because I drew 1. Create a treasure, I'm assuming. That's my assumption here because I mean -1/-1 does nothing. Everything else I have is instant, so might as well just say go. I don't know what the big card is here. They're looking at my graveyard, I guess, to see what I have. I mean, right now it's just a creature and a couple removal spells. Land. Oh, I guess. Oh, they. Oh. Well, we'll do 3 to the face and 1 tap. So they gain 2, so they go to 6, but 6 is better than where they were. And I don't think they were expecting me to possibly do that. Really? Delver into Delver? That is what I get? Rip. Big ol' Sag right there. I mean, if we could flip and they can't kill it, sure. I'll get a Fate and Hope and I will bounce your card back. Thank you. End turn. I mean, I think they're going to play it again. Would be my assumption just because it's a 4-drop, but they could have other things. Sure. Tap land. Okay. Interesting. So do they not have removal? Can they kill it? I just need a burn spell. That is not a burn spell. There are 2. Just need a burn spell. That's all it will take here is a burn spell. Sure. You're gonna drain me for 1, so you go to 3. Sure. Okay. One to my hand. One to the deck. One onto the side. And we'll say go. Can I get there is the question. Okay. Sure. I think I could still get them here because I can Inspired Idea. Well, I can Electrostatic Bolt at the end of turn, and then on my turn, Inspired Idea, and then hopefully draw one of my bolts. So they're only at 5. I mean, unless they can figure out how to sacrifice maybe an Eye Twitch, and they're at like 7. Sure. Two to the face. Draw 3. And then we'll also scry the 3 from the top. And then we'll 3 to the face. Okay. Okay. Opponent goes first. Hand's keepable. I mean, we have a red mana source, so I think we keep. They're also red of some sort. I'm just going to play this into play tapped. I mean, I could have played blue here to have a bounce spell ready. Sure. I will also play my own Alchemist. Maybe I can slow their Alchemist down. They do get the first, like, multiple triggers here. So, I mean, that's the one thing that could happen. If they don't play anything, it may make me wonder. Okay, so they have 2. Sure. They probably have a spell. I think Chandler's probably the stronger play there because then I get some pressure out with the creature. I know I could have played Torolf's, but they could have possibly had a burn spell open. Okay, they're gonna ping. They're gonna ping. It fizzles. I don't think he's good in this matchup just because he's very weak. Resolve, sure. The question is, do they have another removal spell? I don't know. So they have the two alchemists out. We have the disciple now, which puts pressure, so they can't really like tap out on their turn. But I feel good because we have multiple channelers. We got to get more stuff in the graveyard. Need another red mana source, so possibly want an inspired idea here. Play with fire could be a possibility to the face. It just kind of stinks when I draw lopsided and I don't draw enough red mana. Sure. So I'll ping. Are you gonna ping as well? Why would you tap now is the question. We'll keep the lightning bolt. There are 10. We'll say go. Just in case they decide to maybe haste or something. So they have to spell here, I think. A part of me wants to, I don't know. Sure. I'm not sure what the idea is here. Maybe they have some sort of removal. I mean, I'm in a good position. I kind of want to dig here because I want lands. And we don't draw any lands, but we'll keep a double lightning bolt hand. I think we have game next turn, because sure. They don't have haste, so it's not a big deal. I just can't have a burn spell, essentially, is what they have to think I don't have. I go down to 7. It's keepable. Mono white of some sort. We'll put red down. Oh no, it's stuck. What do I have? We'll keep Chandler. We'll play Channeler because then they can't attack into this. Okay. Oh, okay, so we want a Brutal Cathar here. Got it. Took 10 years to Brutal Cathar. Got it. Let's see if we can trick him here. I'll hit for 4. It's probably not the play just because I'm going to flip it. We're just going to get out of this game. We're too far behind. Opponents on the play? Or on the, yeah. It's keepable. I'm not feeling confident about it. Okay. Five and enter tapped. I'll get hit for 1 by a Shambling Ghast, I guess. No blocks. Definitely in a tough spot because the Slaughter Specialist is something we can't deal with right now with what we have in our hand. Sure. Man, they drew like a good hand. I think that's the play. It just kind of sucks that we can't, no attacks. We'll sit back. None of that is helpful. I don't need any of this. I just need to do that just to get rid of them. And we'll trade. And they get a treasure, but we get rid of their creatures that are annoying and we lose all that. Yeah, that's fine. They have no removal or anything? Well, we'll get rid of their ghast. I can't tap it. And then we'll play a land to play tapped and say go. And then we got to dig. Okay, they didn't have anything. It's good for us. Can I get a land? Sure. Slowly killing themselves, that's fine. That's all we need. Creature in hand. Could use another blue source. I did that wrong. I get them always confused because the order is really weird. Okay. I have no blue mana. Jeez. No attacks. Man, I really messed myself up here. That's fine. What is their deck? We'll do that. And then we'll Delver. I feel like I've gone through half my deck. I have gone through half my deck. If you have removal, you have removal. Disciple? Okay, that sticks. Put some lightning bolts in our deck. That's good for us. Now let's hopefully can draw some of those lightning bolts. Man, I had messed up so big in the beginning of the game. If I win this, it's out of like pure luck. Just because I think like my opponent's playing like some sort of like starter-ish style deck. Sure. We'll consider, get a little bit of draw action. We'll keep. Decline. We'll play another one. We'll swing. Put some more lightning bolts in our deck. Hit for 4. They go to 8. Let's play another land and say go. Another horse, sure. Oof. Okay, they're gonna hit me. I take it. Bloop, 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 bloop. Sure. We'll consider again. Yep. Decline. We'll put 8 lightning bolts more into our library. Yep. No blocks. Okay, this comes down to everything. Sure. GG's. For the win. In the air. And 3 more to the face. That was close. That was close. Opponent goes first. Hand's keepable. So we can slow them down possibly. Hopefully our Delver doesn't die. I'm not sure. Alright, looks like some sort of mono white. Not mono white. Clerics. Nice. We'll play Alchemist, put the pressure on. Not sure what's the face down card. Maybe it's a Poison the Cup. Okay. That's a card. That is a card you can play. Is it the time to play? I don't know. And then we'll bounce it back, untapping it. Yeah, we'll keep... Yeah, we'll keep the blue mana source. Hit for 3. They're down to 13. Say go. Oof. That is not... Oof. I'm so sorry. They are, not in a good position here. Taking 3 is not where you want to be. Especially against, like, especially against a deck that burns. We'll say go, and then we win. Play land, play Disciple, swing for 6. And we'll ping for 1 for fun. Alright, so this is an okay hand. Yeah, we'll keep. We're on the play. Not the worst, but not great. Also playing against some sort of Izzet. So we'll kind of see what happens here. Deal. Alright, they don't have any sort of removal. Counterspell? Draw your Disruption? That's fine. That is fine. See if they tap out. They're looking about removing it. That's perfectly fine. I actually think that's a good thing for us anyway, because we'll play Toralf. And we'll get some Thunderbolts in hand. Or into our deck, I mean. So, in a good spot. Opponent's not filling our deck with lightning bolts. play another Thermal Alchemist. If they want to counter it, they can. Okay. Really trying to put it in that they're trying to slow me down. I wonder if they're gonna play some sort of removal. Sure. We'll 2 to the face. You can counter it because Lear's out. Yeah, I mean that looked pretty good on our end. Pretty good on our end.